Hello, hello, hello. I hope you all doing very good. This section is going to be part 3, solving first degree equation part 3. Last time we were talking about case 1, case 2, and case 3. Tonight we're going to do case 4, which is if you see division. So if you see division, then you multiply, and then we're going to do some solving some equations with this situation, and this case is if you see division, then you multiply. But if you multiply, be sure you multiply by both sides, that's the main thing. Then you multiply both sides, and I'm going to write some equations that deals with this case. Then you multiply both sides. But before we go on to this case, before I start case 4, I would like to present you a special case that there might be some equations that have parentheses that may have unknown on both sides. So I would like to show you one example before I go to that one, and that example is in case if we have parentheses, what we should do. All right, let's do that example. The example is very simple, but follow it step by step and see what happens. So this is part 3, solving first degree equation, and the example would be in case if you have a parentheses, and inside the parentheses and outside you have a number. Inside the parentheses you have 3x minus 7, and then you have a minus 2 times 3x, 5x plus 3, and the other side you have 8x plus 38. So that's 8x plus 38. So what do we do? What should we do when we see parentheses on one side or on both sides? Doesn't matter if it's on one side or both sides. We should always do distribution law. That means we simplify the side that has the parentheses, or even the other side, doesn't matter. So you look at the equal sign, there is your equal sign, and you go to work and you say, all right, on this side I have parentheses, so I'm going to do distribution law. If you remember, distribution law is very simple. Draw your arrow, 4 times the first one, then times the second one. After you multiply, then you remove the parentheses. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to get 12x minus 28. Now when it comes to 2 times this parentheses, it's a good idea to take the negative 2, because the negative 2 is a shortcut. So rather than multiplying 2 first and then subtracting, you can take the whole thing and save time and skip one step, take the whole negative 2 and multiply and do distribution. So we distribute negative 2 times this 2, and after you multiply negative 2, throw away parentheses, you are going to have a negative 10x minus 6. And remember, don't forget the negative times positive give you negative, negative times positive give you negative. So follow up with the rules of negative for multiplication and division, and then you remove the parentheses. So now this is the left side. What's on the right side is 8x plus 38. Alright, so we go to work and simplify the left side, and now we have to add like terms. Do you remember how to simplify, add like terms? And the like terms are the x over here and the x over here. So it's going to be 12x minus 10x will give us 2x. So you write it down. But don't forget, when you multiply, write the sign to the left of each term, so you stick them together so you don't forget that. Don't worry about the right side. Let's simplify this side first, and then we have number negative 28 minus 6. So those are the two negative numbers we are adding, or it's like negative 28 minus 6, which gives you negative 34. So in reality, two negative, when you add them together, you get a bigger negative number. So that's minus 34. Equal to, the other side is the same, 8x plus 38. Now, because you have the unknown on both sides, all we have to do is just move all the unknown to one side, move all the numbers to the other side. I usually go with the traditional way, and I move the 8x to the other side. So in order to move the 8x to the other side, I subtract 8x from both sides. So I'm going to subtract 8x, take care of the x term first, so subtract 8x here, then subtract 8x here. Alright, so therefore now the right side, the 8x and the 8x will cancel. So this is going to 0, the other side is going to give me minus 6x, negative 34 equal to 38. So now I have simplified this equation to a smaller and a smaller expression, and if you notice it's coming down like a funnel, and finally at the end of the funnel you squeeze the answer up. So there it is. I subtracted 8x from both sides because I want to move all my x's to the left side. Now what would happen if somebody says, isn't it easier to subtract 2x from both sides? Sure, if you want to do it that way, that's also good, as long as you don't make a mistake and you get the right answer. Either way is fine. So now let's take care of the negative 34. So what do we do with negative 34 on the left side? We have to move it to the right side. It is negative, so we add 34. So you always do the opposite of what exists and the opposite of the opposite math action. So that's the subtraction. We add 34, we add 34 to both sides. So now you are going to have a negative 6x on this side. So 34, negative 34 plus 34 is gone. This side is going to be negative 6x equal to, and you do the math on that side, that's going to give you 72. So 38 plus 34 is 72, and there you have the final punch is right here. The final stage of the solving this equation is very easy. Negative 6x equal to 72. What do? We all know, divide by negative 6. Make sure it's negative 6, not 6, because you have a negative sign. So now we go and divide by negative 6 on both sides. Divide by negative 6 and divide by negative 6. I don't know if the camera is showing in the bottom of the board or not, but let me write it in black in case if you don't see it. So we're dividing by negative 6 on both sides. Do not subtract. It's a multiplication of negative 6 times x, therefore we divide. It's not a subtraction. So we divide negative 6 on both sides, and guess what? X come out to be a negative 12. So don't forget, positive divided by negative is negative, so x come out to be negative 12. So therefore be very careful with all your math work every step of the way, and this happened to be the answer for this unknown, so the solution is negative 12. But sometimes you get a positive answer, sometimes negative, sometimes you end up with a fraction, sometimes you end up with 0. 0 is a number, so don't write. That's okay. That's a good. I think I should remind you of this. I think I should warn you of this. If you ever get a 0 for the answer, that is the answer. That is the real number. 0 is a real number. Don't underestimate the power of 0. 0 is a number. So if you get x equal to 0, if you get x equal to 0 in any equation, or the unknown becomes 0, that is the answer. So 0 is a number. 0 is a real number, so don't write no solution. If you get a 0, do not write no solution. No solution is wrong. That's not when you get no solution. 0 is an answer. It is a number, so that's the answer right there. In case, if you get a 0 for x or y or the unknown. So therefore, a 0 is a number. It is an answer. Don't write no solution if you run into that situation. Alright? Next is, this is just an example, but every time you have a parenthesis, do the distribution, simplify, add the like terms, move all the x's to one side, move all the numbers to the other side. At the end, whether you divide or multiply, it depends on the last stage or last case. So in this case, we have to divide, and there is the answer, negative 12. If you want to know that your answer is correct or not, what do? You all know, take the value, take the solution for the x, For the unknown, take it to the original equation, plug it in here, plug it in here, do the math on the left side independent of the math on the right side, and also plug it in here. After you do the math on the left and you do the math on the right, then the two numbers should be equal. At the end of the end result should be a number equal to a number that is the same number, and that means your solution was right. If it's not the same number, that means your solution is wrong, or you made a mistake somewhere in your math calculation. All right, guys, let's go to case number 4, and we're going to show you case number 4. It's very easy. Don't forget the other cases before you, so you learn all those steps. And if you have any questions, let me know. I will or email. All right, let's go to case number 4. And case number 4 is very simple. You just have to recognize what case you are in. It says if you see division, then you multiply, and you're going to multiply by the number that I'm going to show you. Multiply both sides. So don't forget, you are multiplying both sides of the equation by the denominator. I'll give you one quick example, and the division would be, for example, let's say we have x over 5 equal to 12. Now, one thing that is very important is to pay attention to all the items that you have. Pay attention to all the components on the left side, on the right side. But this case number 4, if you see division, there is a division. Is fraction a division? Yes, it is. Whatever is in the denominator, that's the number you're dividing the unknown by. So the x is unknown, is divided by 5, so the denominator is 5. Therefore, we multiply by the denominator. We multiply by that number you're dividing by, which is called the divisor. So on both sides, we multiply by 5. But, here's a big but. First, you check and make sure it's a single term on the left side, single term on the right side. Then you can apply this rule. In order to apply this knowledge, or if you see division multiply both sides, you have to have single term, single term. So therefore, is that a single term? Is that a single term? If it is single, then you multiply. What do we multiply by? We multiply the left side by 5, and it's a good idea to put 5 over 1, and we multiply the right side by 5 over 1. And I will tell you why. When you multiply by the same number, that's the denominator, we multiply this, that's the denominator, multiply both sides by this denominator. If it was 8, you multiply by 8. If it was 3, you multiply by 3. If it was 1,000, you multiply by 1,000. But it's a good idea to put the number over 1. So we multiply both sides by 5, and it has to be same number. You cannot multiply two different numbers. Alright, let's go to work. And what do we do after we multiply? Get rid of the fraction. That's the whole point. The whole point is, say, 5 over 5 give you 1, x come out alone, and that's the goal. You remember the goal is to have the unknown alone by itself, so x comes out alone, and on this side you do the math, and that's going to give you 60. So therefore the answer is 60 for the unknown, and if you plug the 60 back in here over 5, the left side should give you 12. So very simple math calculation, very simple way of solving for the unknown, if and only if it's single on both sides. Now I'm going to show you that later. If you get a number that's extra term, then we're going to get rid of it. So let's do another one with the negative, in case if you have a negative. What happens if you have an equation that is y over, and the denominator this time is 3, y over 3 is equal to negative 6.4. So the left side is a division, y over 3, that's a division, that's a fraction. This side is a negative number, so what do? Pay attention to the denominator. You take the denominator, which is 3, multiply both sides by the same number, same denominator. So we multiply both sides by 3, and therefore on this side we multiply by 3, and on this side we multiply by 3, and the left side 3 and 3 cancel, and the right side you do the math. So what comes out with y? 3 over 3 is 1, 1 times y is y. That's our goal, to get the y alone by itself, and this side is going to give you negative 19.2. So the answer for the unknown is negative 19.2. You're done. Finish. Hallelujah. So therefore, don't forget your negative sign, because that's a negative, and that's what happens with in math. You have to pay attention to your sign. You have to pay attention to the steps. You go back and double check everything. Make sure you multiply the right number. And that's the case number 4, which if you see division, you multiply. But once again, single term, single term. Now, what happens if you have extra term? You know that we always get rid of the extra term first. So, in case if you have, let's say, P over 200, and don't worry if it's a large number, a small number, doesn't matter. This is a division, but it has an extra term, which is minus 8 equal to 4.3. So therefore here, you have an equation, and it is a division, but you got an extra term. So what do? We get rid of the extra term. Alright, let's go to work, and here's what we're going to do. The unknown is P over 200 minus 8 equal to that number, 4.3. So because we have the extra term, we're going to get rid of it. So first, get rid of the extra term. Get rid of the extra. So that's the extra term we want to get rid of. Right here. And you see the sign is negative 8, so we add to both sides. We add the same number, plus 8, and therefore now I have these two cancel. Now I have P over 200 equal to, then do the math on this side, is 12.3, and therefore you have this situation. Now you look at this and you say that's a division, correct? P over 200, that's a division equal to this number. That is single term, so therefore I can multiply this side by 200, get rid of the fraction, multiply this side by 200, and get rid of the fraction. Well, this side doesn't have a fraction. That side you get rid of the denominator. So 200 times this, 200 times this, and then the 200 will cancel, P comes out alone, and the other side, you do the math, and I believe it's going to be 2460. 2460. So there is your answer, 2460. But I'm not sure, just do double check on this and see if it is correct or not. Now, there are many cases that you will have extra term, whether it's the extra term is plus 1, minus 1, plus a number, minus a number, doesn't matter what number it is, you always have to get rid of the extra term before you do the application of case 1, case 2, case 3, and case 4. Especially case 3 and case 4, which is multiplying both sides or dividing both sides. It has to be single term, then you can multiply or divide. Alright, let's go to the next piece of math work, and that is, I'm going to show you some special cases, and then we'll go to fractions. But first, let's go to special case. Special case, you will run into many of these equations that you have to solve, and sometimes you grab your calculator and you change the fraction to decimal number. It's okay if you want to change the fraction to decimal number, but in some cases the question on the test or the teacher says, I want the answer in fraction. So if the teacher wants the answer in fraction, you have to do everything by hand, and then when you get to the final answer, that's fraction. Make sure you remember, what do we do in CBCC? The final fraction answer have to be reduced to the lowest term. So you always simplify the final answer for fraction, simplify it, reduce it to the lowest term. Then you make an A. Alright, let's go to this case, and this case is if we have 3m over 4, over 14, 3m over 14 is equal to 30. Now, in this situation, you have 3m over 14 equal to 30. There are two ways to perform that. By the way, 3m over 14 is the same as, that's the same as if you wrote 314 m equal to 30. So both of these are the same thing. 3m over 14 is 314 of m. But I have already showed you what to do on this one, but I'm going to show you something different. You can solve this by multiplying both sides by 14. That's correct, because that's a division, it's a single term, single term. So can we do that? Yes. Single term, they both are single, so therefore you have a fast, quick action here. I multiply this side by 14, and I'm going to put it over 1. Multiply this side by 14 over 1. Now, if it was not a single term on both sides, you have to do some simplification. You have to get rid of the extra term, and now we had single term, then we multiply by the same denominator. Alright, now 14 and 14 cancel, so I get 1. 1 times 3m is 3m, and the other side is going to be 420. Then you notice there is no more fraction, so the denominator is gone. So now here we have case 3, and case 3 is, if you see multiplication, you divide, right? So we have a case 3, you already know how to solve that. So we're going to divide by 3. And the left side we divide by 3, and the right side we divide by 3. So therefore here 3 cancel, and then you have m equal to 140. So that's the final answer for m. M is equal to 140. Problem solved. Bada bing, bada boom. Now you're happy, you can go home and celebrate. Alright, let's do some more that involves the fraction and special cases. I'm going to show you the same thing, that what would happen if you had an extra term. Once again, we'll get rid of the extra term. So what happens if you have 3m over 14 plus 5 equal to 30? Well, you cannot multiply by 14 on this side and this side, but if you multiply by 14, you have to multiply every term by 14. That's one way to do it. The other way is to get rid of the extra term. You know we have the extra term, so therefore get rid of the extra term. And you subtract 5, and you subtract 5, and then you go and you end up with 3m over 14 equal to 25. The rest is history. You know how to do the rest. So the rest is the exact same thing as we did here. You multiply by 14 on each side. Now, somebody might say, why can't you multiply by 14 over 3 on both sides? Yes, you can. You can multiply this side. That's another option. Rather than multiplying by 14, because that's 3 over 14, you can multiply by 14 over 3. And that actually saves you time. That skips one step. So you're skipping one step if you multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. And it has to be single term, then you multiply this side by 14 over 3. Correct, you can do that. And therefore, the answer is going to be different than that one. So here you go, you multiply both sides by the reciprocal, that's fine. And then you're going to get a different answer. But this way, 14 and 14 cancel, 3 and 3 cancel, and m comes out alone by itself. And that's what we want. So m is alone by itself, and the other side you're going to get a number. Now this number is going to be a fraction. That's okay. You can reduce it if you can. If not, that's all right. Or you can write it as a mixed number or fraction or whatever it is. But don't forget, have the numbers and the answers is wide open. Anything is possible. You can get a large number, a small number, a negative number, a fraction, a decimal, a zero, or anything. But don't forget, don't write no solution for zero. Zero is an answer. All right. I don't think we have time for the situations that you may run into no solution. it is a possibility. Some equation give you no solution and some equation give you infinite solution. But I don't have time for right now, so I may cover it in another video. So let's go to the next part of the special cases. All right, let's go a special case, and the special case is when you have two fractions on both sides. All right, let's write this equation down. The question asks you to solve. Let me do this one first. To solve 5w minus 11 I believe it's over 10 equal to, so there is on the left side there is one big long fraction, and you have this expression over 10, and there are two of them on the top, and on the right side you have also two terms over one single denominator. So that's another big long fraction over 8. Now there are many ways to solve this equation. The technique I'm going to show you is very unique, very nice, very fast, and is very easy to memorize, easy to remember, and it's a very good technique because it saves you time and it's fast action. So I'm going to show you a special case, and this is a special case if you have single fraction equal to single fraction, you can cross multiply. This is one of the best time to do cross multiplication. So you can actually cross multiply like that. But if you cross multiply, make sure when you multiply 8 times the top, make sure you use parentheses. So put it in parentheses, put both sides on parentheses, this side on parentheses, and then you multiply 10 times that, put it in parentheses, put it in parentheses. So use parentheses because the top of each fraction are more than one term. If a single term is okay, if it's let me give you one example. What happens if you had, for example, 5w over 8 equal to 3w over 10? Well, in that case, single term, you can cross multiply. Let's do this first, and then I'll go to that one. All right, you can cross multiply and then write 10 times w, 10 times 5w, that's 50w, equal to 8 times 3w, that's 24w. Okay, and then you have to move all the w to the left side. This is a very good example right here. So move all the w to the other side, so that's negative 24w and negative 24w. So therefore, we're going to have 26w equal to, guess what guys, on this side is going to give you 0. So that's not 1w, that's 0. So therefore you're going to have 0 on this side. If you have 26 or any number times an unknown equal to 0, that unknown is equal to 0. So therefore w is equal to 0. That's an answer. You can circle it, that's my answer very proudly, and put a check mark beside it because that's correct. So when you have single term, single fraction, you can cross multiply, boom, 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 get it done, and this is your answer. Now if this was 3 over 10, without the w, you would have a different answer than 0. But here is 26w equal to 0, so in reality you divide by 26 on both sides, divide by 26 on both sides. Now remember, 0 divided by any number is 0, because it's 0 on the top. So therefore that's very important issue right here. Your answer is 0. Don't forget, that's your answer for w. But if the right side did not have the 3, did not have the w, it was only 3 over 10, you would end up with an answer that would be 12 over 25. That would be 12 over 25. That would be a different story, but it's okay. I just wanted to show you cross multiplication. Single fraction, you can cross multiply. But if you have extra term, you cannot do that. Now let's go back and solve that one, and I'm going to show you specifically the case and the situation that you have more than one term and you want to cross multiply. Guess what? 8 times these two, you've got to use parentheses. So we're going to use parentheses for that, and it's going to be 8 times 5w minus 11 equal to 10 times that. Also use parentheses because it's two terms. So it's going to be 10 times 2w minus 6. And you close parentheses. So there is no more fraction. That's the whole point. Cross multiplication gets rid of the fraction, gets rid of the denominator, and that's the beauty of cross multiplication. So we cross multiply because you want to get rid of the denominator, no more fraction. And that's not the only way. Some people might say, why can't I multiply this side by 10 and multiply this side by 8? No. That's a huge mistake. Bad move. A disaster. Why? Because you're multiplying by two different numbers. You cannot do that. You cannot multiply that side by 10 and this side by 8. If you multiply both sides by 80, yes, because 10 times 8 gives you 80, which is a common denominator. But the LCD would be 40. What if you multiply this side by 40, multiply this side by 40? Yes, that would be good. But two different numbers? No. You cannot do that. And definitely you get the wrong answer. So it has to be perfect. Everything has to be 100% correct. So therefore, don't do that. Don't multiply both sides by two different numbers. Let me put the caps on these markers before they go dry. And also, I'm going to show you how easy it is to solve this one. Alright, so therefore, be careful about your math work. Don't mess up in the process. And you could multiply both sides by 40, which is the common denominator, or multiply by 80, but not different numbers. So let's do cross multiplication. It's faster and easier. Cross multiply. Now we go to 8 times the parentheses, 8 times these two. Make sure you use the parentheses. Now we do distribution law. We do distribution law on both sides because you got to distribute, right? So you're going to get 40w minus 88 equal to 20w minus 60. Then what it comes down to, after I move all my w to one side and all my numbers to the other side, it comes down to 20w equal to 28. So I jumped a step, I jumped 2 steps, and that's what I get, 20w equal to 28. And now I divide both sides by 20. I divide both sides by 20, and the w is going to be 28 over 20, then I reduce to 14 over 10, then I reduce to 7 over 5. So I get 7 over 5. Make sure you reduce to the lowest term. And now the final answer is 7 over 5, or you can write it as 1 and 2/5. So this is the same as 1 and 2/5. So either 1 is good, 7 over 5, or 1 and 2/5. How about 1.4? That's also good. But if the question asks you to put the answer in fraction in lowest term, that's the right answer. That's the final answer right there. So make sure you do that. But if you cross multiply, the cross multiplication can only happen if you got single fraction. If you got extra term, you cannot do that. I'll show you very quickly. What happens if I have, for example, 6